Heat Sixers was the perfect match for basketball enthusiasts. From mastering the Heat zone on the fly and turning it against them along with some clutch shot making, this was about as good as it gets for two teams battling for the playoffs. So today we break down what happened and everything you missed from this wild play-in. The game started off with some fantastic defense from Kyle Lowry. Even though he's 37 years old, his hustle really set the tone for this game. He first ups the pressure on Jimmy Butler and then switches on the dribble handoff. After he gets absolutely slammed on the screen by Bam, he gets up and makes Hero give it up to Bam before closing to him at the 3-point line. He made sure to stay in the gaps even if his assignment was Jimmy Butler. That way, he created a few turnovers that kept the Heat's offense in check early. However, Joel Embiid also struggled to score as he couldn't create any separation on Bam. But the game started to turn when Embiid went to his signature move, drawing a foul after getting Bam in the air. On the next possession, he pump fakes Bam again and drives baseline before flailing his arms and drawing Bam's second foul. This forced Bam to go to the bench, which meant Kevin Love was tasked with guarding the former MVP. On paper, Love appeared to be a less challenging defender for Embiid due to his limited mobility. However, his presence prompted Erik Spoelstra to pivot to his signature zone defense. Unlike the conventional zones typically seen across the NBA, where each player guards a fixed area, Spoelstra's zone is dynamic, with players adjusting their coverage based on the ball's position. This strategic adjustment not only shut down the Sixers, but opened up Miami's offense. The Heat initiated their defense by applying backcourt pressure to slow down the Sixers' initial attack. Philly tries to counter by using a double ball screen. When Maxey swings it, Hero stunts but retreats to the corner. Maxey then tries to drive it between two defenders before turning the ball over. In response to Miami's zone defense, Nick Nurse immediately brought Joel Embiid back in the game to exploit the middle of the floor. However, this move fell right into Erik Spoelstra's hands. While most traditional zones can be broken down with some passing to the middle, Spo's zone is designed to take away the middle of the floor, especially when Embiid is there. The Sixers tried forcing it, and the Heat capitalized on those turnovers by attacking Embiid in the pick and roll to tie the game at 20. With the Heat building momentum, they closed out the quarter strong until Jimmy Butler got Oubre in the air, and unfortunately his leg was taken out. Despite this, Butler continued to play with the help of adrenaline, but it slowly affected his game and Miami's offense, especially later on. Throughout the first half, the Sixers were continuing to figure out how to decipher the Heat zone. The Heat zone is designed to swarm Embiid, especially in the middle, but the Sixers continued to look for him, which worsened their spacing. By the time everyone spaced out properly, Butler can act as a free safety and break up any pass. This time, Embiid posts up on the wing and Batum flashes to the middle. There's a 2-on-1 advantage behind him, but he looks to Embiid instead, and Love is right there to rip it away. The Heat put as much as 4 defenders on Embiid, which finally prompted the Sixers to look elsewhere. While they did throw the ball away a few times, they started to gradually figure it out by working the baseline, even if the results weren't apparent right away. Knowing that the Heat are trying to close the middle of the floor, Batum knows that the corner is going to be open. When he flashes out of the middle, this looks like really bad spacing, but since Hawkins is responsible for the corner, Batum sets a back screen to force Love to come out. Embiid then has a mismatch with Butler in the paint, but he just misses the shot. While Spo's zone is very creative, the corner can be exposed because the man guarding that area is by himself when the ball is on the other side. So when the ball is swung back, they have to make a quick decision between staying up on the wing and rotating down to the corner. This requires a ton of trust and communication, which can either make or break the possession. Throughout that first half, Batum slowly found ways to break the zone. He would stand near the dunker spot, which seems counterintuitive, but with the corner defender so high, it's hard for them to locate where he's moving. So if no one declares where Batum is, then he's going to be open. And even though his pass gets deflected, it required an incredible recovery by Caleb Martin. Overall, the zone was still quite successful, especially since it helped the Heat increase their lead to double digits, but they missed a lot of chances to put the game out of reach. They had some open shots, but this possession at the end of the half really stood out to me. Tyrese Maxey is figuring out matchups with his teammates and says I have DeLon right, but he later gets contested by Embiid and matches up with Caleb Martin instead. The Heat notice that and rightfully get Maxey on Butler, but as he drives, Martin floats to the wing instead of the corner, which makes a pass much harder. After Butler turns it over, he yells at him to go to the corner because he would still get an open shot. And those were the type of opportunities that he couldn't capitalize on that kept the Sixers within striking distance and gave them more time to break through the zone. The second half began much like the first as Joel Embiid continued to struggle. The Heat threw multiple bodies towards him so that he had nowhere to go. On the other end, the Heat continued to struggle to score even though they had some good looks. But the game started to shift again after Caleb Martin got fouled on a normal fast break layup. After he missed the first free throw, fans started to go crazy. The reason? Free chicken. Caleb Martin clearly felt the crowd as he short-armed the second free throw. The crowd celebrated, and the Sixers played off that energy with Batum relocating to the wing for an open three. In response, the Heat pivoted to a side pick and roll. After Butler passes it out, Martin drives and Oubre anticipates his pass. With a chance to run, Hield runs up ahead and finishes to cut the lead to 6. With the crowd roaring and momentum on the Sixers side, Nick Nurse decided to run Spo zone against him. The Heat finally advance the ball past half court, and they then try to swing it to the other side, but it's Maxey who does a great job covering the corner. Now the Heat offense gets stagnant, and Hero ends up taking a 3 off the pick and roll late in the shot clock. The Sixers run again, which forces Hero to guard Embiid. That attracts another defender, leading to a kick out of Buddy Hield, and all of a sudden it was a 3-point game. The Sixers also started to put their half-court offense together against the Heat zone. When Lisa Salters was reporting earlier in the third, Nick Nurse essentially explained what they needed to do.
Well, I asked Nick Nurse what Philadelphia has to do to attack that Heat zone. He said, we've got to move the ball more. He said, we're standing stationary, not penetrating and getting to driving gaps. He said, there are gaps that we can drive through, but in that first half, we were too stationary. We've got to attack.
In the second half, the Sixers started to attack the middle of the zone much more effectively. They widened the defenders on top to give the ball handler more space to drive to the rim. If the initial drive was stopped, they kicked it out and redrove the ball with force, which led to much easier shots. In addition, they continued to use the baseline to their advantage. Here, Kelly Oubre moves down to the baseline, which ends up breaking the Heat zone. When the Sixers swing the ball, Hawkins does the right thing by closing out hard, but he didn't communicate to Wright to stick with Embiid. Highsmith then has to stay on Embiid a split second longer, which then opens up the 3 for Batum. To end the quarter, Embiid intentionally stays out wide so no Heat defender could sit in the paint. This forces Hero to come up higher to put a body. Maxey looks like he's passing it, which gets Wright's eyes moving before attacking the zone. Simultaneously, Cam Payne floats to the corner so Maxey can drive and he gets rewarded with a wide open 3. The Heat to respond as Hawkins hits a 3 to push the lead back up to 5, but even then, it was clear that the momentum was swinging to the Sixers side. The Heat came out in a hard full court press to start the fourth, but Oubre is able to break through it and finish to cut the lead to 3. The Sixers continued to show a full court press, but decided this time to pivot to man-to-man. The intense defensive pressure ends up working as Hero has to eventually force something at the rim. They then respond by getting Embiid an open 3, and he ties the game at 74. Philly slowly pulled ahead as they constantly used the corner to break down Miami's zone on Batum's 6th three-pointer of the night. Then they put it all together a minute later with Hield slashing through the zone and lobbing it to Paul Reed to give the Sixers their biggest lead of the night. With Jimmy Butler hurt and the Heat needing a spark, Tyler Hero took primary control of the offense. While he had started off horribly, he showed why the Heat needed him as a secondary playmaker. He breaks down the zone by driving through it and hits the floater to put the Heat up 3. Just a minute later, he crosses over Oubre and nails a jumper to preserve their lead. With the game winding down, the Sixers needed a final push, and they finally got it from the man that had been shut down all night. They were down 1, but continued to threaten the Heat with their backcourt press. Lowry strips Hawkins from behind, and as the Heat retrieve, Bam tries to tell Hawkins to take Embiid, but he ignores him, and Embiid knocks down the 3 to regain the lead. On the other end, Hero continues his hot streak. With Embiid in drop coverage, Hero is able to walk into an open 3. The Heat go back to their zone. Now they continue to bracket Embiid so he couldn't get the ball, but Maxey with his newfound understanding instead stretches the Heat zone out by throwing it to the wing. With Hawkins still on Embiid, Maxey finds Batum on the other side. Bam closes well and contests his shot, but Embiid uses his size to get the offensive rebound and he throws it in with an and one. The Heat respond again as Hero drives it and throws it to Highsmith with a running start, and he floats it over Embiid to tie the game. As Hero continued to get in a rhythm, Nick Nurse assigned Batum to him, and it paid off immediately as he pressured him into the backcourt, giving the Sixers a chance to finally take control. The Heat go back to that same zone look again. Oubre moves to the other side, and Butler looks like he's there, but Oubre flashes in front. Embiid throws a bullet pass, and Oubre finishes with an and one. With the Sixers up 3, the Heat run a dribble handoff for Hero. With Embiid sliding to Hero's left, he darts right, but Batum blocks his shot, and Maxey gets fouled going for the loose ball. Maxey ends up making both free throws to push the lead up to 5. Tyler Hero was able to hit a 3 near the end to keep it interesting, but the Sixers were able to seal the game and advance to play the New York Knicks. So while the Heat zone did give fits to Philadelphia early on, they slowly figured it out by understanding where the soft spots were and eventually became full circle with their star big man working through it when it mattered most. In addition, Nick Nurse's decision to duplicate the Heat's defense and to put Batum on Hero down the stretch helped the Sixers solidify the game and wrap up a fantastic chess match. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If so, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.